Today is Friday, March 22nd, 2013. I am Mitzi R. Smith, a lawyer located in High Point, North Carolina. Today I will be interviewing Mr. Earl Jones, former North Carolina State Representative. The purpose in Mr. Jones' own is his state of aspect of and as a lawyer and as an
Good morning, Mrs. Smith. A pleasure to be here.
thank you for being with us. Would you tell us when and where were you born?
I was born in Burlington, North Carolina on July the 20th, 1949.
And Burlington is not far from us here. But today we're in High Point, but you live in Greensboro, is that right?
Yes,
Greensboro, North Carolina. So Burlington is what, like 20 miles?
20 miles. Actually, it's exactly about 20, 22, 23 miles.
Okay. Now, in terms of your parents, what were your parents' names?
Uh, my mother, I was a single mother, uh, Thelma Jones. And then she married Elton Day. I was about 9 or 10 years old. And that's my stepfather. And I think he did a great job of raising me.
Okay. Do you have any sisters and brothers?
Yes, I have 6 of us. I'm the oldest. I have 2 brothers and 3 sisters.
And where are they?
Well, my baby sister is in.
What are their names?
Oh, their names. Okay. My oldest brother is Preston Jones. Sister Angela, Debbie, Teresa, and Tyson.
Okay. And I take it you were the second of that six?
No, I'm the oldest.
You're the oldest. You
Yeah, I'm
did
the
say
oldest.
that. Okay. So what's the difference in age? You say that your mother married and then your stepfather separated.
Yes, there's my Preston is a year behind me, and it's 3 years behind me, and then Debbie is 10 years, uh, and Teresa is actually 13, and my baby brother is 18 years younger than I.
Now, Earl, you said that you grew up in what size town or city is that?
Burlington is approximately 85,000 citizens. Of course, it's made up of municipalities right there within a 5 or 8 mile radius. Maybe Hall River, um, uh, cities are right
Well,
there.
small places.
Right.
They're
small
smaller.
places.
Okay. And in terms of your growing up there with your parents, what type of work did they do?
My father, he was worked at Cone Mill, which is a textile manufacturing plant, and my mother worked at Burlington Industries in textile plant.
So they were like factory workers?
Yes, they were factory, blue collar factory.
Little college. Are they still living?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
You're blessed, yeah.
Yes, my father, he's 87. My mother's 83.
Did you ever know your biological father?
Yes, I did.
What was his name?
Louis Thaxton.
You had any involvement with him?
Yes, I knew him, and I would visit him. He would visit me when I was in college. So, Burlington's kind of a small town. And I knew him. That's-
So you grew up knowing both sides of your family
Yes.
and involved with both all relatives. Do you have any children?
No, I do not.
I know that you're married.
Yes.
What is your wife's name?
Adrienne Donnell Jones.
And where?
She's she was born in Greensboro, and she grew up in Eden, North Carolina. My mother's from Eden, and my parents went to Cook. She was ninth grade, and they moved to Eden. She was born in Greensboro.
As a child, did you have much involvement out in the community, or were you primarily other other relatives and babysitters and so forth? Just how was your childhood?
My childhood was a very happy childhood. I was kind of protected from the ways of the world, pretty much. Pretty much was in the church at the time. My great grandfather founded Mill Hill Baptist Church in Person County.
And what was your great grandfather's name?
James Westbrook,
And he founded which church then?
Mill Hill Baptist Church.
And that's located where?
That's located in Person County,
Okay.
right outside of Roxborough.
So you grew up with the exposure of grandparents and parents and
Yes,
other aunts and uncles.
uncles and aunts and just whole big pretty big family.
In terms of your parents, did they ever talk with you about black white issues?
Well, they wouldn't talk to me about it at that time. The young folk, when grown folks are talking, you don't get in that conversation. But I would hear them talking about political situations, but it meant nothing to me. And I was pretty much playing basketball and tennis and badminton and going to school, making pretty good grades. So I was pretty much, um, I would listen, but I wouldn't listen. I didn't pay a whole lot.
But that's interesting. You mentioned tennis and badminton,
Yeah.
not games that you think generally of black kids at that time.
Well,
How did you happen to get into badminton and tennis?
I was at the school, Central High School, which was all black segregated school. Uh, we had tennis, and Mr. Carmichael was the tennis coach, and he's also the band director. And I played in the band. I played trumpet, and so me and some of my buddies, uh, because of Mr. Carmichael, started practicing tennis. Became pretty good at it. Won a few matches my junior senior year. Featured in the newspaper winning one match. But that's how I got involved in tennis. But growing up, my parents would buy us buy badminton sets. So I was 6, 7, 8 years old. I would play badminton with my brothers and sisters.
Okay. Socioeconomically, how would you mentioned that your parents were blue collar workers.
Mm.
How did that translate in terms of how you all lived?
Feel pretty good. I mean, a middle class, uh, for that time, a middle class African American neighborhood, and uh, the nice house, brick home, so to speak. So it was pretty, pretty privileged life.
Do your parents still live in the house that you grew
Yes,
up in?
yes, they do. Oh, house, they still do.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Do you remember how old you were when you all moved to that house?
Yes, I was. I think I was in the eighth grade, so I guess I was 13, 14 years
Okay.
old.
And they had they lived in what type of housing had they lived in before that?
Well, it wasn't a brick house with running water and all that they live in now. It was a house that most folks lived in. It was okay house, but you didn't have you had a well, didn't have running water, that type of thing back in the late 50s, early 60s.
Were you did you at all times live on what city or
Always out in the
county?
county area,
Okay.
but it was somewhat of a suburban area. In
Uh-huh.
other words, it wasn't way out in the country. My grandparents lived way out in the country, and I would go out there and prime tobacco. That was a horrific experience, but and that was during the summers. So but where I grew up was a neighborhood type area right outside of Earl, all black neighborhood.
Now, Earl, I have to ask. I'm the youngest of my family. Were you a good big brother?
I would think so. Actually, I would take care of my baby sister when I was 11 or 12 years old. Teresa changed the diapers. I did the milk formula and the whole 9 yards. So iron clothes, just do housework, wash
Okay.
dishes, you name it.
Did you ever
My
cook?
parents never really did a lot of cooking. No,
Okay.
I didn't do any cooking.
I'm sorry, I
They didn't trust me
interrupted
with
you.
the cooking.
I interrupted you. You tried to say something like your parents didn't do something about that. Did I throw you off on that? You
No,
about to say something about your parents and I.
no, it's just that I was pretty much somewhat of a housekeeper because they were working and gone about quite a bit. And the only thing they wanted to make sure we did was I would get out of school, do my homework, and then I could play and that type of thing. But if they weren't there, I was a babysitter, but they were
Right.
out
You know, yeah, that's
you know.
uh, did you have any interaction with whites growing up, white kids? Were they in the neighborhood, close to the neighborhood? And
And let me be honest with you, yes, Donnie Cobb and some of the guys in the area and the neighborhood would all get together and play basketball out in the rural areas or semi-rural areas. You really, looking back on it, you really did there those mores and social restrictions. running force out there. We played practically every day, every other day. Played basketball at one of my friend neighbors' house, and who was African brother, but they would all come over. We would all go to his house and play basketball. Right?
I know that was the way at a certain age.
So, like I said, I was pretty much insulated from Jim Crow at a young age.
Okay.
We would go to town when we were in the big city every now and then, and um, my parents, I looking back on, they would drop us off at the library, and they pick us up at the library when we got ready to leave. And I didn't really, I'll be honest, I never really thought about it all the way up until maybe my junior year in high school. I never thought about it.
What about the theater? Did you all go have a?
Well, that's an experience in and of itself. The first time I went to a theater, I was to a movie. I can't think of the name, but it was pretty popular. And I was in the ninth ninth grade. I was in ninth grade, and I went to the movie with some guys that grew up in the Green Level area, which was a little bit more urban, and they were a little bit more knowledgeable. They'd been to. They, I guess it show you about how naive I was when we arrived at the theater, and show you how God look out for children. But when we arrived at the theater, we purchased a ticket, and so they were going to go upstairs. So I said, well, I'm going to go downstairs. I had no idea about Jim Crow. So okay. I'm going to go downstairs. They looked at me funny. I didn't think nothing about it. And I went through the door. I was walking down the aisle, downstairs at the movie theater. And I'm looking around for a seat. This white guy, runs up to me. He said, you can't sit down here. And I see it. I see there aren't any seats. And I went back upstairs. I sit down in front of Al Jean Tarplin, Don Levin, George Packard. I sit down in front of them. They were looking at me funny, and I turned. And that's the truth.
But wait a minute, your first time going to a movie theater at the ninth grade?
Yeah, ninth grade.
Why? Why?
My life was centered around church, school, family. Visiting on the weekends, going to my cousin's house, my uncle's. It was all, and it was rural and semi-rural area. I never, which is girls, never was exposed to a lot of that. Just family, school, playmates, grandparents, uncles and aunts, and they pretty much insulated me. We didn't see any signs and all that.
Okay, but your contemporaries, your friends, they didn't talk about the movies they had seen or had been.
Well, not really. I mean, I didn't. I was a jokester. I like to play games, basketball. Like I read a lot. As a matter of fact, my daddy bought he had people going around selling the encyclopedias.
Yeah.
So he bought encyclopedias when I guess I was about 10 or 11 years old. I read the encyclopedia, the A to the Z, at least 4 times from the age of 10 to 13. But I mean, my life was really not exposed outside of family, church, and segregated grammar school and high school that I subsequently attended.
So there was no tension between you and your parents about your wanting to go to the movies or do other things that your friends were doing. There was no discussion at all.
What about me going to the movies? Me going to go?
Yeah.
I never thought about going to the movies. Well, I'm happy. I mean, I had a pretty happy childhood. I have to say, I think about those type of things at the time. I watched TV, play basketball, play badminton, go out to my grandparents' place. And it was isolated in the rural area of Caswell County. I'm talking about deep country.
Right. Okay.
Be there in the summer. My cousins would come down from D.C. and they were out there. I mean, I just just a simple life.
Okay, then let me get
playing with the animals.
Okay. All right, let's go back to this time when you were in the movie with your friends. Did y'all not have any discussion about this when you left the movie?
No, they just had this strange look. I didn't think about it. And they always said I was comical, jokes or something. But they just had this strange look. And I never thought about it until 2 years later.
Okay. Now then, Are you still in touch with those friends that you named?
Oh yeah, all of them. George Packenham, he's in Raleigh. Donald Maybe, he lives in Arizona now. Thomas Shipman, I think he's in the Atlanta area. Yeah,
You don't ever discuss that incident?
no, not really. Hadn't thought about it.
Really?
thought about
You can tell this is very
well,
interesting to me. I
never
cannot.
thought about it.
Okay, so once you went to the movie on that occasion, you go back?
I think the next time I went to a movie, I was in college. You know, I don't remember the movie. I was in college. It's a whole different ball game. You know, so, I think.
Now, in your church, what do you have an active role there? Like where you just not just attending, but
Pretty much until, well, you know, I don't remember a lot of it in detail. But my grandmother, she pretty much directed us what to do and just different things in the church. You know, Travis was singing a little bit in the choir, but I didn't have the voice.
things like that. Did you ever recite Easter speech?
Yeah, did all that type of thing.
Were you good?
I mean, yeah, I had pretty good oratory at the time. At that time, he graduated from grammar school in the eighth grade.
Right.
And go to high school. And I was, I guess, valedictorian of the class, about maybe 60 students in the eighth grade. I had to make a speech. Right.
But now, in terms of schooling and other things,
Like an encyclopedia, I read comic books and just fun things. I think the only serious book I read, I was a junior, a senior in high school. Then I was looking for work, still getting naive. But where do we go from here? By Mark. Oh, no, I didn't. I mean, in high school, we were required to read certain things. But I, I don't remember what the Shakespeare and all that. I was just trying to get it great. Read it, remember it, put it down in writing the way the teacher expected. And I could diagram sentences.
Oh yeah, that was in fact a very beneficial thing. Diagram.
And I love school. As a matter of fact, I say that from the first grade to the 12th grade, I didn't miss one day. Perfect attendance. I would be sick sometimes. I must say, think of not cry. Now, you know, I was young. And they let me go to school until see where he's going. And I mean, I didn't miss one day. Perfect attendance. First grade to 12th grade.
Now, in terms of your involvement at the school, you mentioned all these extracurricular activities. Did you ever hold office?
No, never wanted to.
Never wanted to.
Now, I had Tyrone Hope, who's another friend of mine. I supported him for SGA president. I was supporting different people for different things. And people would ask me to run this. As a matter of fact, I found just the Central High School my senior year. That was something different. And people come in the gym to make a speech. And it was me, Calvin Heston, and three other guys. I remember Calvin Heston because he came in second, but I was around just the Central High School. That was, other than that,
This Central High School?
Yeah.
You remember who that was?
I can't remember. I mean, this was something different. You had to, there was some type, I don't know what surrounding homecoming, but you don't have a Mr. Central High School. You don't have a Mr. High School. Something right around that. And something special they did it. But you still had the Central High School. It's kind of like king of the high school or something like crown. They put crown. That you still had the Central High School. Different person. They didn't have a Mr. Central High School. I did. I made good grades both days. My favorite teacher was, I would say this, master, English.
So it's high school.
No, elementary school. Um, Miss Crawford was like third or fourth grade, and really she was supposed to have been glad.
Why?
But there was an incident where she asked all the kids in class what do you want to do when you grow up. And they said, "I think second or third grade, but I don't remember." And so he went around the classroom, and when they got to me, I said, "I want to be president of the United States." And I was sitting on the United States. I was getting bust out laughing. And I started crying. So she made me stop laughing. She called me up to the classroom. I'm be politically incorrect these days. Sit me on her lap. Now sit me on her lap. She said, "Now tell me what you want to be." I said, "I want to be president of the United States." And she said, "And you know something? You president of the United States. Also remember that if you shoot for the moon, you'll hit a star." And I had my chest poked out. My back said,
That's a wonderful story. Did you ever keep in touch with her?
No, not really. I didn't. Yeah, never talked to her. I mean, I know her. I don't.
That was another one.
Well, um, I would say Miss Hester was the one that that pushed academics. That in order to read, read, travel, just push the reading. And she taught English. I put out a diagram. And I got pal about her. Back then, you could paddle students. And I was around. I would keep people laughing. So, I got paddle about her.
But let me ask, did they ever report you to your parents for this jumping around?
Really.
They handle it their residence.
I had thought about that.
You all live near relatives.
Uh,
Go to church with them.
no, no. I mean, some lived up, in out in the areas. And what was her name? Her house is right across from my aunt's house. She's deceased.
Else have much involvement or communication.
Oh, yeah, they be talk to the people, especially my band director. We had to travel. Well, we didn't travel overnight, but we had one of the best bands in the state, by the way. And we were on TV my junior year in high school. And, Sleigh Ride played that within rock. They had some of the best bands to play on TV, and our band was one of the best in the state. And I could on the Sleigh Ride, there's a pause in there where you have to make the trumpet sound like a horse, and I did that. And we, as a matter of fact, we participated in the parade. I forget what year, sophomore year. Participated in the Christmas parade here in Greensboro, which is a big city out here at the time. Um, they had a picture of us in the newspaper. We were one of the best bands in the state. I remember.
At all?
I dated, yeah. I mean, back then, you dated it, didn't
Okay.
they?
Okay.
What the hell, hands? I mean, yeah, you dated, but I mean, I dated. Of course, yes, I did.
Did you dance?
Yeah, I was,
Is that right?
I was a pretty good, probably one of the best dancers.
Really?
Oh yeah, oh I was. Not one of the best dancers in high school, one of the best dancers in college.
Is that right?
Yeah.
What types of well, do you know any? I mean, the names of any of the dances you did?
Shotgun.
Okay.
Um, it's different,
Did
different
you
type
sing?
of dance.
Did you
Oh
ever
no, no, I couldn't. I always wanted to sing, just didn't have a voice.
sing? Okay.
I mean, terrible
So
singing
at
voice.
church you didn't participate in the choir or anything?
Well, I would participate in the choir. car because I could cover.
Okay.
People could drown me out. So I'd be singing, but I was a terrible singer.
Okay.
Terrible.
So now you're going on to what year did you graduate from
1967.
before we leave high school? Did you ever work outside of the? Did you ever do any work while you were in high
Yes,
school?
I did. I did work that was kind of a nightmare and traumatizing. In the summer, I would go to my granddaddy's farm in Caswell County and work in tobacco from sun up to sundown. You go out into the field. Really, looking at it now, uh, about a violation of child labor law from 10, 11, 12, 13, whatever. Working in the tobacco field, you go out to the tobacco field early, 6, 7 o'clock, get trenching wet because we picking the tobacco because the dew is on.
Yeah.
Then in the afternoon, after you go back to the field of lunch, you get dripping wet from sweat because your hands are black and hard and the crime all over your face and hands. It helps to build character, though.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Everything else after that is a piece of cake.
Now you're on your grandfather's farm. Did you learn to drive at an early age because of that, like moving the truck or the tractor?
Yeah, the tractor. My uncle Otis, he actually had to drive a tractor. Yeah, I learned how to drive a tractor. Again, child labor situation. I guess I couldn't hardly put my foot on the pedal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess, but never out on 10. And even I was sitting, matter of fact, I would see he would direct, and then I was small fellow.
They had to drive a car at an early age.
No, there were rules and regulations at the time. You had to take the learner's permit. Learner's permit, you used to drive a bike. I remember when I tried to get my driver's license the first time I was in the car. I did pretty fine until I got ready to go. When I got back to the station, got ready to turn in. I ran into a ditch, and then I slid on brakes and almost hit the deck. So let's pop. Not getting the learner's permit.
But you didn't drive a car around on the farm, a truck or
Oh
anything?
no, just a tractor.
Just a tractor. So when did you get the learner's permit? Since you didn't get it.
I got it maybe a month after that.
Okay.
Back. Not took a lady to the farm and that type of thing. I didn't. But I mean, high school I didn't drive. I was I was dating a young lady that lived in Rock Creek. I would go there
How
on
far was
Sunday.
that from?
I guess that was about 8 miles. And I would come see her on Sunday. She was, so I dated probably serious dating. Maybe like 6.
What was the first national?
Well, let me say this. One that I remember, and I didn't know the implication of those people. Didn't think about it, but that's it. When it impacted with the assassination of Malcolm, I remember my parents were upset. They were mad. They were angry watching TV. Malcolm was executed. I didn't think much about it, to be honest with you, but I got upset because they were upset. But I have no idea. I mean, I'm just saying, I didn't follow into that at the time. They talked about Martin Luther King. I remember them uh, discussing. I said them, Uncle Roosevelt, Uncle Otis, some of them. They would talk about. I remember talking about what was going on in England. There was a student they doing this, that, and the other. And some of it was kind of supportive, some of it was kind of not. Kind of, well, I don't know, they getting in trouble. So there was both. I heard it from both from my uncles and aunts, but I didn't pay a lot of attention to it. Really, I just they talking. But now Kennedy was assassinated, I remember the teachers were crying. I do remember that.
What grade were you in?
Eighth
How old were
grade.
you?
I know,
This
13,
is in
14, 13, 14.
okay.
Yeah, I remember that because, again, I knew who the president was. I didn't follow him one way or the other. Didn't think about that. Whatever. I do remember my parents getting upset about the chicken prices. I didn't know what that was. Oh, y'all make something, be killed and all. I remember that vaguely. So those three things I kind of remember politically: Kennedy assassination, chicken prices, and African.
Figure it out. I hear a lot of people say, "Give it till." Really?
No,
Is that
I
right?
was totally insulated from all that. I was pretty much insulated from Jim Crawford, naive.
Okay. Now, you mentioned Dr. Flowers King. Of course, they barely find anyone does not claim to have been a supporter of Dr. Flowers King. Do you remember those you mentioned?
Yeah, his name would come up, and it was a positive type. I have when they speak about it to each other. Sure, I do the name.
I have to tell you, Earl, this is very interesting. Let me tell you why. Because I know the rest of your life. And so to hear how during the early years, you were kind of oblivious to a lot of stuff. But then, and so it's going to be interesting getting the rest of your life and all of that. So you grow up, you graduated from high school.
1967.
Ever have your parents uh, talk with you about
Yeah, I mean that was almost understood. I was going to call it. That's pretty much. Had a couple But my grandmother, Vera Jones McPhail, taught me how to read by using the Bible. I learned to read the Bible. I was 3 or 4 years old. I read it from the front to the back, and she taught me to read in the evenings. Every evening, we would sit, play checkers, and she would the Bible out. She would read it to me. She showed me words. She taught me how to read.
now, do you have any favorite passages?
Yes, forgive them, Lord, but they know not what they do. And that's carried me throughout life, especially in politics, which is a rough and tumble profession. And you get beat up quite a bit,
Even
but
by the people that you're trying to help?
right, but you have to try to stay focused, make sure you help people and implement policies that's going to benefit people, whether um, whether you appreciate it or not, whether people say bad things about you or not. You have to forgive them, Lord, but they don't not what they do.
Now, who was your favorite national figure during your high school, by the end of your high school?
I didn't have any favorite
Okay.
national figure in my high school year. I guess my favorite figure is, Uncle Harvey in D.C. He was a retired police officer in D.C. Deacon in the church. That was my hero. Um, so I mean that I didn't have my Uncle Roosevelt. My dad, I like the way he was always tough, hard on punishment. And
As you
but
look
those
back at it now, but did you deserve some of that?
oh yeah, I deserve
You
it.
deserved it.
Yeah,
You didn't think of it that way at the time.
oh no,
He was a mean man.
I deserve
So now, during your before we moved from your high school, were there ever any events that occurred of a racial nature?
Yeah, well, began to become a little bit politically aware in my junior and senior year in high school, specifically my senior year, when up in Rockingham County in Eden, North Carolina. I didn't, my to be wife, I didn't know her at the time. They had integrated the school up there. There was one canvas to integrate students in this area, the Triad area. And they, I think that's about 2 months after they're in school, they arrived at school. There was a casket that was sitting on the top of the building, and on the side of the casket it said, "Departed all niggas here," and a riot broke out in the school. The black students began to fight the white students and the teacher. I mean, the complete chaos. And we heard about it at our school with some of the students, Tyrone Coach, some of the students that were talking about going up to eat and helping the students out and getting involved. And a couple of them had calls. And of course, the teacher said, "No, you can't leave the campus." They brought parents to our school.
How far is
Eat.
Yeah.
It's about 20 miles.
Oh, okay. So
Matter of fact, it may be close to my rebuild eat from Graham, about 20 miles.
So what happened? Were y'all able to go? Or
Oh no.
Okay. But now you're
but I
aware.
got okay. Yeah, I thought about it. And see, in high school, we had all white high school, all black high school. I knew I was in a black high school, but I didn't think about it. And then we had some students at our school that were skin color wise, whiter than just like white folks. But we had a place called Little Texas, and where a lot of light skinned people. My dad and some folks, and they look white. I mean, the whole 9 yards. You look at my yearbook. I was superlative in high school. Iris Burnett was the female one of the superlative, the wittiest. I was the guys. She white, blonde, natural blonde hair, the whole 9 yards. And so my wife, my wife, school, Douglas High School before they integrated in Rockingham County.
Okay.
Right. She told me that they came to Central High School, I guess sophomore, freshman year. She was 5. And when they left, she was saying, "Oh, they integrated already. They got white people going to school." like Dennis Burnett, he looked just like Elvis Presley. I mean, he had the pump to do, he looked just like. And they had a thing about our high school, but at them and also the high school in the city, showing themselves. When they left the high school, my wife, her people inquired. They said 2468. We don't want to integrate. How about our high school? Of course, that went over my head too.
I'm not from North Carolina, but I've been here some time. I've never heard of Texas.
Little Texas is Alamance County out the Pleasant Grove there. My brother lives out there now. And I grew up. I went to elementary school at Pleasant Grove, so I didn't. I guess that's why I was a little bit oblivious. I didn't, of course, act the actual color. I didn't think about it. And then Donnie Carmen, those guys, white, played after school. I just didn't think about it.
All right, so now you're 18. You graduated from high school, and did you at all times know that you were going on to college?
Yeah, I wanted to go to college, and I.
Harold?
I was gonna say that all my friends, we all went to go to college. Tyrone, Ohio, Georgia, Pac-Man, all did Self State. Thomas Shipman went to A&T. I mean, we all intended to go to college.
Why North Carolina Central to you?
Well, my cousin, Yvonne Wade, she went to North Carolina Central. I researched things about North Carolina Central, and they talked about North Carolina Central. Had some other distant relatives who went to North Carolina Central. Always.
And you got your wish.
Yeah.
And so you went directly from graduated from high school, spent the summer. How did you spend your last summer before college?
Do I have to stay working in the tobacco field again? Matter of fact, that was the last summer I worked in the tobacco field.
Okay. And so by what was it? August, September, you were down in Durham.
Yes.
At North Carolina Central. Right. Did you become major?
Yes, sociology. I made it in sociology and minored in history. And the reason I made it in sociology, I wanted to help people.
At some point, no, that's all right. While you were there in undergrad, did you work? Any work outside of?
Yeah, I did a little part time. I remember being a waiter at Holiday Inn, a banquet waiter, and then a regular waiter. Banquet waiter, you go into special parties, serve the banquet. I make pretty good money. That's about 3 or 4 hours. Get a chunk of change, But yeah, I had little jobs here. But I had a college loan. Right.
Any scholarship?
No, no scholarship.
Did you know of any at that time?
That no
Scholarship.
Not really. That didn't ever really cross my mind.
I know. That's why I asked. I know that's how I was. So that's why I asked that. Grants and all that.
Well, let me take that back. How did I miss this? Well, it wasn't really a scholarship. The Burlington Industries, the textile, under the managers of the Burlington Industries plant, uh, they should, but Burlington Industries provided me a loan. I'm a freshman. Forgot about it.
Now, Earl, you're the oldest. Did your family help you? Did the other kids back home have to sacrifice or something?
No, not really. My parents, they've given me money, and like I said, I had college loans and had a loan for Burlington Industries. And I didn't know that I didn't have any money, but looking back on it, I was broke. And you get 3 meals a day in college. Yeah. You got your living facilities in the dormitory. So don't think about it one way or another. And, my parents, they would come down and bring me money. And they'll money $10, something like that. $5. That went a long way back then.
Exactly. And did you have
my sophomore year, I had a nice fancy new vehicle.
A new vehicle? Yeah. Not new to you, brand new.
1969 Cutlass Oldsmobile. I mean, my people had, pretty good money. Farm, and I was the oldest grandson. So I had a new vehicle.
Okay.
Riding around in my sophomore year. No, wait a minute. The first vehicle was a light would go on. So, but that was my sophomore year. My junior year, I got the new vehicle.
Okay.
I traded that in and got a little bit off of it.
Did having access to a vehicle spoil you in anything about studying or whatever?
No, it didn't spoil me, but it got me involved more in a social life because me and my buddies got a house, rented a house off campus, right there in the campus, big party.
And your grades stayed up?
Grades stayed up.
Okay.
Always focus on the grades.
Was there any national event that occurred during your college, undergrad years that impacted you?
Well, let me just say that. I can answer your question when I became a literature person.
Okay. Yes.
What happened was that when you go to college at that time, I guess the freshmen would go first. They on campus by themselves.
Exactly.
Week. That's what So that first week, my roommate was Eric Miles from California, Otis Cooper, on a cold right outside of Celebrate. And then we had other friends from different parts of North Carolina. But big long story short, after about 2 or 3 weeks, you have the orientation, have speakers to come in. And Howard Fuller, he was kind of like H. Rap Brown Stokely Carter, like a black militant over in Durham area and in North Carolina, Howard Fuller, and also Ben Ruff. They were together. They had an organization downtown, and they would lead marches, and they were more the Malcolm X type philosophy at the time of speech. So he was going to speak over on the campus at B&B Auditorium. And I'm sitting around, they said, "Oh, go to your house." I said, "I'm not going to know." So y'all naive. all of the friends around there, rookie roommates and new people like Earl, you need to go more than anyone else. What are you talking about? You really need to go. If nobody else go, you know, what are they talking about? So I went over there. I tell everybody, I walked in that thing and all it goes, white on the inside, black on that side. I mean, I must say white, but I'm oblivious. I mean, just think about color one way or another. And so Howard Fuller started speaking. And he said, yeah, some of you, you think white ice is cold. Uh, yeah, if you white y'all right, you brown stick around, you black get back. Your brainwash. Good hair is is straight hair. Your hair is bad hair. It, all this. When you look at the when you watch a movie and Tarzan beat up the African black man in the movie, you on Tarzan's side. He talking about me. He talking about me. So I said I walked in there as James Bond, walked out and found him. Yeah, because it hit every point. It hit every point psychologically in my thinking, the way I thought, you know, and it, it was the truth, the truth, kind of set you free. I got to thinking, I said, I didn't think like that. Um, I do root for Carlson, and the way they laid it out, of course, and that's when I began to become politically aware of segregation. I'm not gonna let you read that quite yet. Okay. Do you remember what you felt? What listen to this? What what feeling did you have about what you had to recognize about yourself and facing yourself? Well, I felt first of all, I felt more more pride. I've been because I'm getting to realize I had I had internalized self hate. I had all of the uh, negatives regarding uh, black one way or the other. You know what I'm saying? Um, the light skin versus the dark skin, the good hair versus the bad hair, the uh, white is better, black is bad, and how that was set up, the way they laid it out and explained it, and it touched different parts of my past experience, and I began then to go back and remember things in situations in high school, um, how things were done and why the segregation, the used books, the used typewriters that I never thought about one way or the other, secondhand. And it's the whole, I just began to just think about all those things over to a period of how it changed from the inside out. And then I began to read a lot of books and authors, the autobiography of Malcolm, and different uh, uh, information that I didn't think about reading. Well, I've been became driven to learn as much as I could. And what was the time of the date? Do you remember the date of this? It was early in my freshman year. I don't know, maybe it was early. And I participated in my first march. I remember we marched downtown. That was a shocker because when we marched downtown, the first march, there was National Guard on the tops and all that was guns. So that shook me. And to be honest with you, it kind of gave me some fear. I said, this is real. I was isolated, insulated, protected all my life. I said, it really get killed doing this. Yeah. So it kind of, all of it, that first year, just kind of everything just kind of came together about, uh, about the social ills that exist, the injustices, how people are treated, black people are treated. I wasn't treated that way for 18 years. Pretty lucky, I think. Even though it was all around me, kind of walking in a pool of snakes, don't sing. Okay. But okay, during the civil rights movement and the marches out in Alabama and the people being put upon by the dogs and the fire hoses, have you seen any of that? Yeah, I didn't think about it one way or the other. I mean, my parents were watching TV and they talk about it. I didn't think. I just didn't. I'm going to play basketball. Hey, a tennis rack. I got to get it. Some problem to put some tape on it. oh, we need to go. I need to get something to pump up this basketball. But just glad, what? The nets. So now we need to get some new nets for the. I didn't think about it. I'm trying to go practice. And my dad said, look, you're making all that noise. Let's go outside the backyard. But what was happening really only time I watched TV primarily. I remember Bonanza and things like that, but sports, I remember JoJo White, Texas, black teams won NCAA. I was all into that. I mean, sports, entertainment, James Brown. Okay. I mean, dancing. None of your dancing moves. I didn't think about this stuff. I mean, I'm just being honest. I know. And I guarantee some folks are probably the same way, but I didn't think about it. So now it wasn't a priority. Okay. You go into a meeting and you come out really a changed person. Right. A thinking person. A thinking One person. Thing about HBCUs, Historical Black College and University, uh, I realized then and looking back on it now, they teach you how to think, not what to think. And that was a good example. They didn't teach me what to think. They opened up my mind so I could analyze and evaluate for myself and come to some conclusion. Okay. Now this gets interesting to me. Very much so. How does Earl Jones now go back home? How 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 did the conversations back home change? Oh, I was a black militant. That big afro. That boy need to get a haircut. They going down in that car, you just getting crazy. Cut your hair. I had the dashi. So that was a little over the top for parents. The whole black thing, black power, and self-determination. We need to own our own, run our own. We need to, self-reliance. Whole nine. So they had, they delivered a son down at Central, and this person comes back. How were your grandparents responding to you at that time? My grandmother, she surprisingly, she supported them. She smiled and she asked me questions and talked to them. She surprisingly, more so than your parents? It was my parents. They were kind of a little shaky there, That boy need to get a haircut. That boy talking all that nonsense. I'm going to that boy. Yeah. Did it change how you saw your hometown? How you saw relatives? Yeah, but I still had a warm, fuzzy feeling about brothers because of the way I was brought up. I never, and I guess I should do. I always, and I hadn't thought about you just saying. I always internalized Earl as a nurse, wholesome, safe place. And now that I think, even now, that's how you feel. Even though it has the same type of social ills and problems, probably more so maybe than Greensboro or whatever. But I guess because I know a lot of the people, and going to a segregated high school, you knew everyone that lived in the whole county, black, and then you knew a lot of the whites. I mean, I don't know. I saw it differently, but I still saw it as a like my parents almost people. How did this change in your thinking impact your discussions even in school? Well, at first I became angry. I didn't realize black people had gone from slavery, Jim Crow segregation, the horror of not only slavery but Jim Crow segregation, the lynchings and the MBTs that was everywhere about that, and it's angry. What can you do about it? That's when I changed my major. I didn't change it. I added a major political science. I decided that I would go to law school instead of being a social worker. Subsequent that I began doing both because I realized in reading about Martin, NAACP, that one lawsuit, like Brown case, First Board of Education, one lawsuit changed the country. One lawsuit. Whereas social work, you have an impact on one person. So that's when I made my decision to go law school. And what was where were you college at that point? sophomore. But also, let me say this. When I left high school, I wanted to major in biology and chemistry. So that was my passion. And when I got to college, um, so my friends said, let's go to it. I then went to begin to think about social issues. That's why I changed my mind. But I had this passion for chemistry, biology. And that's what I really wanted to do. But going to college, I I wanted to change. I want a major social change in the country and be a part of it. And so I abandoned my passion, still my passion more so than anything. Biology, medical research, biological research, genetics, the whole nine yards. So I abandoned that for uh, not a dream, but I think a responsibility, commitment to get the yoke of institutional white supremacy off the back of black folks.
And so you change your major to add, not
Political science because I realized that with of social work, you could help one person. But reading about the NAACP, a Thurgood Marshall Brown case, Brown versus Board of Education, I realized that one lawsuit can change the whole country or the whole state or a city, just one lawsuit. So I felt that I had the greatest impact going into law versus social.
but your passion had always been
A passion in high school was chemistry and biology. I always wanted to be a biological researcher. That's my passion then. It's my passion now.
So what did you do with that passion?
Well, when I arrived in college, I was impacted on the social ills that existed in North Carolina and in the nation as it relates to black folks. So that's when I began to abandon my passion and focus on social work, political science, law. But I continued to stay close to that. My reading as a hobby was medical books, primary research, talk about sales. You know, this,
and that's
still my passion.
Is that also primarily your reading interest?
Yes, primary. I'll say 60% of my reading interest is related to genetics, genetic engineering, um, uh, stem cell research, uh, onyx, just the aging process, and how that could be impacted on the prolonged life, slow down life, stop the aging process. All of this fascinating to me, and that's always been my passion. Mr. Mack, Dr. Curry Mack was my biology teacher in high school my junior year, and when I took that class, a couple other classes,
That was
it for me. And it had been for social ills that existed relative to black folk, I would be um, somewhere enjoying researching sales and trying to manipulate sales in a way that be better for the health and welfare of mankind.
Now, I did a little research, even though I've known you for some time, Earl, so I know we're going to come back to that passion of yours later on in your service. I saw something there that I think indicates you never really abandoned totally your passion. Okay, now you're in college, and at what point, uh, if you already know that you're interested in law, what were your extracurricular activities in college, undergrad?
Well, I, uh, fraternity, I was joined a fraternity. That's another Alpha Phi Omega fraternity, which is a service fraternity. And it was on all of the HBCUs that just come on campus, on the black college campus. They were already on white college campus. They came on black college campus in the early 60s. And the reason that the HBCU brought Alpha Phi Omega on those campuses at the time was that traditional fraternities, whether it's Omega, Kappa, whatever, was social, irrelevant, and party all the time. Because we ended up doing that too. But my point is, we had to get in so many service hours a year in order to maintain the chapter. You had to do things in the community, do good deeds, that kind of And so, and during that time, there was a rise in African American students from college campuses, black college campuses, joining non-traditional um, uh, black fraternities, like Alpha Phi Omega. Then there were some that were started that were serving, like by and there was another one, I can't think of the name of it, that started at Howard University. But that was all, looking back on, that was all part of being trying to be relevant and doing something that would benefit the community. Um, and joining a fraternity that philosophy was served. And we were the most, I'd say we were the most popular fraternity on North Carolina Central University campus at the time. We had the largest chapter. When I pledged my sophomore year, there were 20 that started and 11 that, that next year we had about 30 folks that pledged and about 15.
Y'all still in communication with each other, the same original?
They're almost like brothers. Al Jean Tarpley, because he was in high school with the former mayor of Green Level. He and I are like brothers, picking for practice law and King Family. Willie Dixon, he just retired from the state housing finance agency. Otis Cooper, first African American fire chief in Durham, went down for the ceremony. He's all and but we get together every year at homecoming. We very seldom miss a year, and then about every other year we get together for New Year. Clarence Brown, who actually started, Dr. Clarence Brown started the public administration department in North Carolina. He's in D.C. now. He's with the mayor, Mr. Mayor of D.C. The last mayor that just lost. He was head of his one of his major departments there, but he works for the airport. But make a long story, we all get together every year periodically.
Now, at what point did you meet your wife? Did y'all meet at Central?
That's a whole nother story. What happened was, now she's an A&T graduate, North Carolina A&T State University graduate, but my brother, a year behind me, he was at Central. I was a sophomore, a freshman. And Adrienne, she went to Durham Business College before she was at A&T. So she was at Durham Business College. I was at North Carolina Central. And my brother, he was bragging to his roommate. And one of his roommates, Freddie Richardson, was with the same high school my wife attended. And there was about 3 or 4 guys from her high school. And my brother was close to them because he was now he used to brag about my brother can get any woman he wants. All right. And so we got a bet. So they had a big dance down at Durham. And I had just come offline. I had a bald head. Back then, shady. I had a bald head. I just come out, I was cocky. I just come out. Popular guy. And so I attended the dance, and they introduced me. And she was sweating, her hair wasn't right, she got on bigger. And good. So she didn't like me. And I didn't like her. I mean, we just didn't play. I danced with my mom, didn't like her, she didn't like me. And she told me later on, y'all this bald head. She didn't know nothing about this. It turned out. So after we left, that was it. So a week later, I ran into, about 2 weeks later, I went back to another dance down there. And I was standing in the middle of the floor and with Freddie Richardson and some of her homeboys. And she walked in, 2 other girls walked in, and she walked in. I said, Freddie, oh man, that's a girl. That's the girl you met 3 weeks ago. I said, hey, that's not the girl I met. He said, yeah, that's her. What's her name? He said, Adrian. I said, man, so she got up and came to speak to them. She spoke to them. I grabbed the hand. I said, man, how you guys let this woman get away? She said she was embarrassed at the time. And I walked over where she was, walked back up to the chair and sat down because I was cocky. I was man. Sat down and we started talking, and I took her to a party over at the fire or something. I turned the brothers having a party. And then we started dating after that.
Okay. So how much behind you was she?
1 year.
1 year?
Yeah, she just.
Okay.
Because see, my brother and her the same age.
Oh, okay.
He was going back to her. No, he won the bet. My brother won. You know.
Is that right? Was she ever made aware of this?
Yeah, she played it.
What did she feel when she learned?
She said, oh, she said, if we hadn't met the second time, he would have lost the bet.
All right. So in terms of activities, your extracurricular activities at the undergrad level, how many?
And to be honest with you, I was into politics on the campus and academics and just really academics and panel discussions. I mean, it was a live, active time. And there were marches, there were speeches, we had major speakers, a rap act, Julian, but we just had so many people coming to the campus. I mean, it was the most active uh, time uh, uh, on a black college campus. And we were really the forefront of the civil rights movement, the students at that time. And and unlike the Greensboro Four or the A&T Four, the movement had moved from a militant posture than it was Jesse Jackson, all guys that started. Militant, Malcolm X, Stokely Carmichael, H. Rap Brown, Black Panther, Huey type posture. All those things were discussed. Everything was on the table. Non-violent, violent, uh, by any means necessary. All of that was being discussed was on the table.
Did anyone rise on the national rise at Mars?
You mean, well, be honest with you, Stokely Carmichael, Jesse Jackson, of course, they were only 8 years older than me at the time, but as a sophomore and junior in college, those guys in their late 20s, to me, they were icons.
Okay. But no one, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X.
Malcolm X, yeah. Malcolm, let me be clear. Malcolm X, my mentor. I mean, even though I never met him, I've read his book, Autobiography of Malcolm X. I had this, I listened to his tape, his album, and that was another reason I wanted to go to law, because he was a kid when he was in school, Kansas, I think it was Kansas, and he went to a white school, white school, and he told his teacher again, like they asked him what he wanted to be a lawyer. Teacher said, "You got to think of something more realistic." So I always think, what would Malcolm X have been if he had been a lawyer? How would he handle it? Even when I was on city council and state legislature, certain situations, what would Malcolm say? How would Malcolm analyze this situation? That's how I analyze racism, uh,
and other things
right in America. What would Malcolm say about this? What would be his analysis? Get into his mind. And it usually come up correct.
Is that right? But now, ever have an interest in
no, never.
that right?
See, um, religion has never been a problem. The major problem in America is racism. It's our generation. Slavery is a problem now. Less so, but institutional white supremacy is a problem now. So they don't discriminate against black folk because you're Christian or a Muslim. They discriminate against black folk because you're black. Okay, so and that's part of Malcolm X philosophy. So I never thought about becoming a Muslim. I was raised up as a Baptist, Southern Baptist, and I doubt it.
What is, I say faith in your life as a religion. How does it affect your life today?
Well, it's quite obvious. Like I say, I'm close to science. It's quite obvious. If you study science, it's quite obvious that there's something exists after the present here. It's obvious in nature. Morning, noon, night, fall, winter, spring, summer, fall. I mean, in the universe, nothing never ends. So what makes you think that your existence your organic existence in this particular level of life is the end. It doesn't make sense scientifically. And man has different interpretations. A man know that from the beginning of time, whether you're Hindu, whether you're Muslim, whether you're Christian. Man know that. That's that way of interpreting it. That there's something exists beyond this life. You exist beyond this life. It's kind of like you have a shell, or you're in jail, and when you die, you're something is released. Now, in science, energy never ends. Energy survives eternity. Well, what is your intellect? What is your emotion, your thought? Intellect and thoughts, is that a form of energy? And if so, where does that energy go when your physical body collapses, it no longer exists? Do your thoughts, your experiences not exist? Is that not a form of energy? That's eternal. So to answer your question, um, my interpretation, because of my orientation, the way I was brought up, Christian, Jesus, God, but I know that there's another level of existence. I know also that anything that you do in this life, uh, good or bad, is going to have some impact, because just like a child in a mother's womb, that mother put in bad things, that child may come out a crack baby or whatever. So if you're if you're doing things to better people's life, better society, you're nourishing your spirit. In my opinion, you're nourishing your spirit, and so when that spirit is released, for lack of a better term, because that's our language, spirit. So when that spirit is released, in other words, when you move on to that next level of life, how well nourished is your spirit?
And if it's interpreted on a regular basis, how does that factor?
Might have to say regular. Yeah, but I do attend Genesis Baptist Church. Reverend Dr. Gregory Headley, pastor. I'm a charter member, one of the founders. We met over at the bottom of Attorney Robert Murphy's office Sunday. We were a member of Shiloh.
My dad's
Right,
a member of Shiloh.
right. And so we met about 11 of us, met at Murphy's house, office on Sunday. And I think it was Gail Murphy. Right? We just started our own church. Because what happened, Reverend Head was some people in the church trying to vote him out. But the rules were you had to have 75% of the vote to stay. He got 73.5% of the vote or something like that. So he had to go. So we got to think, look, we have about 600 members. About 400 voted for him. Let's start our own church. So that's what we did. We started off with about 275 members. Met down at the at a hotel. We collected money. About 3 or 4 months, we purchased the church we have now on Bethel Avenue. And I served as member of the board of trustees addition for 7 years. My wife served as a deaconess, trustee. So been pretty active. Um, so past the member still.
In terms of your interest in the last part of your years at college, from Rimbank College. Graduated what year?
Excuse me, 1970.
Most
Yes, I went to Texas Southern University
why?
because I got a scholarship,
Okay.
full scholarship.
How did you know about Texas Southern?
Well, I wanted to go to a black law school first. So I knew there were three. North Carolina Center. I really didn't, be honest, I didn't want to go to Center because I kind of wanted to go to Howard. That was my first choice. I really wanted to go to Howard. And I applied to Texas Southern, and I applied to Southern. So only 4 law schools. I got accepted at Texas Southern. So I never been outside of North Carolina. Well, I had been outside of North Carolina with my parents. I've been outside. Now I went to Morgan State and a couple of colleges in Virginia. Playing with North Carolina Central, played football.
Okay.
Basically, Just one day, but I've never been really outside of the state. That's another issue stuff. I had to, I drove. I never forget that. I got in my car, packed, had a map. I'm 21 to 22 years old. My mother stood on the front of the porch of my house and literally cried when I left. I was driving down there by myself, 28 hours to get there. I didn't know at the time. And just had a map. My dad, oh, stop crying. That boy gonna be all right. This, that, and the other. Later, he was a little worried too. But see, in 1971, 72, he traveling through Mississippi, Alabama, and deep south by himself in a kind of a new car, big afro. Looking back on it, she should have.
She had reason. She had cause.
And I had some incidents. I think when at the end of my first year, I was driving back in September, I think. I'd been there that year. I was driving back, and I stopped at Mobile, Alabama, and I went to a McDonald's restaurant. And I sat down to eat and think nothing about it. And this guy, black guy who worked there, came over and said, "You're not from around here." I said, "No, I'm from Earl, it's a dog." I'm going down to Texas to the law school. He said, "You may want to eat your food outside." I said, "Huh?" He said, "You may want to eat your food outside." It was some white guys in the baseball team. They were looking at me like, "Oh, okay." So I went outside, got my car.
This is another theater. I'm going to see a seat down here.
Well, in 72 and 71, you still had problems.
Yeah.
And I was aware. I was aware then. I just didn't think I'm just driving. I'm just driving. But there were a lot of places I had to immigrate.
I know. But Earl, you're driving alone. Where did you stay at night?
I was young and strong then. I drove. I slept in a rest area for 2 hours. I drove nonstop. You think nothing about it.
Yeah.
He didn't do nothing like it did subsequently. And then when I got there, I got a hotel room for a couple of days, whatever, got on stuff together. Moved, actually, I had a place off campus, right across the street from Texas, these apartments. A guy named Phelps. He practiced on that. But so, and met some pretty good, real good friends. B.D. Howard, he's from Dallas, Texas. That was an experience because he grew up in an urban setting. And, he and I talked quite a bit. He was a little bit more radical and relevant than I was. I think he get to radical out there back then. But he was.
But wait a minute.
He was Black Panther radical.
I'm not going to go to Texas yet. I want to go back to this scene where your mother is fine. Did she cook up a whole lot of food?
Oh yeah, I had food, chicken, all kinds of stuff. Yeah. That was when I first left.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm talking
about. And following the map, I realized that following the map, I went 3 or 4 hours out of the way. I had Hispanic people from the Philippines.
What city was it?
Big cowboy town. And over 200, third, fourth largest city in the country.
What was your experience in law school like? What was the discussions like? Did they intermingle what was happening on the national scene? What you learned?
Yeah, we had Barbara Jordan was on campus. Washington, he was a U.S. Congressman. He was on campus all the time. He taught classes at the law school. Barbara Jordan come and speak at the law school. Oh, she was the U.S. Congress. I think she might have been the first African American Congress female to get black. But it was a very intellectually stimulating time in my senior year, my third year in law school. They had a third year practice. You got to go to court. You have to have a law professor to go with you. I worked with legal aid, and then I worked with the Texas. I said work, it was the intern. Right. Part of the class. Texas Department of Transportation, they were relocating people. We had to talk with them to get papers because we had Vesta that ran that program. They were overseeing everything. But a pretty good experience. I got married at the end of my first year. Uh, she was working at A and no, she wasn't at A and T. Yeah, she was working at A and T. She had left Durham Business College, got her degree in Business College. And then she was working at A&T. She came down, got married. She got a job with the Border Security Commission, State Border Security Commission. And she took classes, one class was a semester in Texas Southern. And then when we came back to Greensboro, she transferred those. And she got a degree from A&T. Back. So you had these influential people come in to speak with you, to you all at the undergrad level, and you having the same experience in law school. Oh, not really. It's like a distance. I've been back to Houston maybe 3 times since I left law school, and that was the National League of Cities meeting, NAACP national meeting, some other national meeting. I think the last time I've been there, I was there. Now, while you're in law school in Texas, were there any especially experiences that you had? They changed the name in honor of Earl Good Marshall. So it's second, my second year, my third year, they changed it from Texas Southern University School of Earl Good Marshall at Texas Southern. And we were the first graduating class under that name. And so they placed all of the names of their graduating class on the building outside that from the non-state still there. Class of 1976. Quite proud of that. Yeah, quite proud of that. First class. So you graduated from law school in 1976. That's correct. Did you know then what you wanted to do with law? Yeah, I had decided that I was going to do any and everything I could to impact on eliminating racism and injustice. I had committed, sacrificed my life to that when I was in college. Um, everybody have a role, but whatever course it takes, and I wasn't limiting myself when I was young, especially in college. Revolutionary rap, or it went nonviolent rap, was my preference, but it was totally unacceptable that the conditions that African Americans were living under, segregation, racism, discrimination, um, was going to be challenged by me. Some people, some of the people at the law school, like Howard and others, people, Charlie Phelps, uh, people committed to that. And this great sacrifice. Job, identified around. Well, not rap. Well, yeah, I civil rights, of course, that area, civil rights. That's the part. So your Oh, my first job out of law school was Central Carolina Legal Aid in High Point. There it's called Central Carolina Legal Services. It's right there on the street, a little small building. Then I worked there for about a year, and I organized the public housing. This was in 1977. I organized the public housing areas in High Point. They were very active, demanding certain things from housing authorities, better housing, and that type of thing.
Before we understand, when you were in law school, there was like females. How many?
I don't remember the breakdown.
Okay.
But I know it was a little over.
Percentage wise?
Well, about I think females make about 1/3.
Okay.
Um, we had a large class. We had the most diverse law students in the country. We had a large number of Hispanic people from the South, you know, citizens of diverse law students.
What types of jobs were available for the graduates in 1976?
Well, most primarily government. We had people that come in from the EEOC and different other government offices. We had one gentleman I remember worked for some corporation. In the but he had graduated from Texas Law School about 6 years earlier, and he represented the company against discrimination. So, I know speaking in class, I was big, different people asking questions, and I was looking at real curious. Said, young man, you got something to ask me? I said, yeah. You'll fight black folks for being discriminated against, trying to help the company. And why do you do that? Why do you have that job? And it threw him because it was just a. I understand now, especially with the law. You know, everybody serve representation, but but at that time, I know why a fight to help.
Your first job is here in High Point. How long did you do that?
I did that for about 2 years. I got transferred after I organized the public housing. The people, the High Point got established, the white establishment got upset from my understanding. So I talked to about, I would say my boss, they call it, and they transferred me because it's kind of boss situation. They transferred me over to, and that's when I got involved with the NAACP, volunteer position, legal counsel, and that was centered around when the Ku Klux Klan.
But when you go back into baseball, you were still working
Oh,
with legal aid,
same organization.
but you were also volunteering to work with the NAACP.
Right. Legal aid. murder handlers, civil. That's the case. Is a criminal nation, public, um, represent people with various government agencies, etc. And that was very, especially poor folks who needed representation.
And I understand it is still a viable
Yes.
resource for people.
And that's why I went to law school. Okay. And I think that's where you combine the law and social work.
So that's what you meant earlier when you said right. And so they did not consider it any form of conflict for you to be working with them, but volunteering.
Oh no, because as long as you perform, I enjoy my job. So, and in the evenings, you know, they keep me in the evenings. At night, I go into public housing, organize registration. But there's a way I in the being a legal volunteer counsel for the local chapter NAACP is a story in itself. Would you like to hear it?
Yeah, definitely.
Well, November 3rd, 1979, the Ku Klux Klan came to NAACP got shut down. And and the NAACP was packed. And I didn't know anyone in there for the first NAACP. I was raised so much that I was raised out. I probably was the youngest person in the meeting. I was upset that the Ku Klux Klan was coming to Greensboro and going to the black community and kill people. And people, and you had all of these leaders, older leaders, telling everybody to calm down. Everybody to calm down. I'm saying, let's march, let's protest, let's sit down, let's, you know, strategy to really have an impact. Right. That because divided curfew. I'm saying things like that. Okay. Go to jail. That's my record. Why capitulate? They were trying to calm everything down to save the image of Greensboro. They didn't have national pictures. They were running the pictures of the Klan shoot these folks over and over again. Anyway, it was about the third or fourth meeting. Dr. George Kimball, president. I mean, he's raising all this sand. You're not he said, well, you need to do some work. We need a legal counsel. If you want to be our legal counsel, if you volunteer, of course, you can do that. I do that. And get your membership, and you can put your work where your mouth. There, I worked with Lucas Pitts, and so they formed the Greensboro Justice Fund, and I represent city in Greensboro. I worked with them. First lawsuit was a criminal case that was brought by the DA's office, right. And all-white jury acquitted the claim. And so then a civil rights violation Justice Fund. That's how I met a friend of mine, Doug Harris. Anyway, the suit was held in favor of the survivors. They received compensation for the violation of civil rights.
Who were the defendants in that case?
It was the, you mean the defendant?
Yeah.
The Ku Klux Klan. Well, not just the Ku Klux, the police departments too.
Oh, okay.
in the Klan, and it's a long
They
story.
knew or
They
should have
should have known
Okay.
that what was going to happen. Instead of, they should have known. And anyway, in the civil case,
He asked for the defendants because the individual people in the politics having
so, but the suit was against, well, of course, the city of Greensburg, U.S. government, all of the government entities had the FBI and others. So all of the government entities were sued by Greensburg.
about what y'all would
It was, from my point of view, it was a minimum, of course, something like $500,000 divided among five.
Yeah.
That was in 1980. But you're still, and of course, some of the Bible said it wasn't about the money, it was about getting justice and all. And really, some of the people killed, they were doctors and professional people. You know, out in Alamance County. My dad knew one of them. But he helped organize students down in Alamance County. So that's how I got involved in regular politics.
But definitely with the NAACP.
Yeah, NAACP.
So how long did you work there?
I worked for legal aid up until 1982 or 83. I got a job as the director, the board of directors of the Offender Aid Restoration. One of that director got sick. Offender Aid, ex-offenders.
Oh, okay.
In Greece. And so they hired me as the director, and I ran that program. And then I realized that there was some anti-poverty revenue that if a candidate was supposed to get, no one had applied for it. And so I applied. Actually, I was looking for money in grants for the restoration and realized that money existed. And I applied for it. It had to be approved by the county commissioners, which was all white at the time. And it was approved. So I started establishing the Gift County Community Action Program to serve High Point anti-poverty program. And I was able to, what I was able to do have an ex-offender component. So maintain that we would get job training for ex-offenders, place them on jobs. Some of them working today. Um, People who are in poverty having skilled jobs as nurses and assistants.
That's what you do, the anti-poverty.
Right.
I was going to ask what exactly.
In fact, I can go to the restaurants right now. Somebody say so and so has Earl Jones building on there. They'll cook. My mother-in-law was in the hospital 3 or 4 years ago, and nurses would come back and say, Earl, our nursing program that we have graduation ceremony. They certificates, 12, 15 people here for 5 months. And what I tried to do was direct people into jobs that were, number one, high demand, like nursing assistant or chef, um, high demand and good revenue. And so some of those folks, even with the unemployment where it is now, some of those folks still working and have problems with jobs. Up until 1990, no, 2000, that's when I started. Let me go back and
Sure.
to politics of the NAACP.
Okay.
Yeah, volunteer for council for the NAACP placed me in a position right in the center of the storm, so to speak, to use law as a tool and an instrument for reason I was that one law was legal like change the whole system. So Katie Dorsett ran City Council in 1980. Alexander Parker and Prince Graves, all three of them Alexander Parker yeah, they ran for city council. And they had an at-large system, which favored the majority culture, white culture. All three of them made it, surprisingly made it primary. And so it was established in Greensboro, and it comes stand up for Greensboro. And when the election took place, the general election took place after the primary, all three of them lost, and they elected an all-white city council. I'm standing around at the hotel where Katie was having her, her campaign party. Okay. Night of election. She talked to Dr. Simple. And they went upstairs. We need to file them. It's not voting right there. We need to file. Like, we need to change that system. The Dr. Doe have been trying to do that. They had two referendums that failed to establish a district system. All the petition Justice Department. Justice Department came in. We don't know the court. They came in. Make a long story short. They formed what they called the Greensboro Dialogue Task. Set up the district system. And Dr. Simpson was
wait a minute now. This dialogue said for people just to talk about it to see about whether or not it should or could be done.
Right, because we had filed a petition with the Justice Department to under the Voting Rights Act to join us in a lawsuit to change it. That's when the city, publicity and a lot of media coverage regarding that. So that's when Jim Melvin and some other folks formed the dialogue. And that's when he was being the mayor of the city. Well, John Forbes was the mayor, but Jim Melvin had just left the mayoralty. He had been mayor for longer than anyone else at the time, and he was very prominent in white influence for part of the establishment. So they had about 15, 18 African Americans, about 15, 18 prominent whites, progressive whites, and Jim Melvin. That's true. And Dr. Simpson was serving in the committee. So he asked me about serving in his place. Well, some of the blacks got upset. I'm a young guy, I'm a younger guy, I got about 30. I didn't think nothing about it. Talking about it, I don't like it. I attended the meeting, and the late Lonnie Rebels, Shirley Fry, and some of them told me later, said, you walked up in there all cocky, big afro, you scared those people in there, and you talking all this black stuff. You scared those people to death. And anyway, so they were talking about the 531, the 431 for the faithful white, the 631 for blacks, and so you have 6 districts, 2 predominantly black districts out of that 6, and one. Some of the whites said we need a blue collar white district, and then 3 other white districts, so 4 white districts. And Jim Melvin and those plans was 3 was only had 4 districts. That's 1 black district and 3 white districts. And then if you had to add large, in other words, 631, the 3 meant that everyone in the city voted for those 3 cities. Okay, and the mayor. That's so they had the progressive whites arguing about, got bogged down arguing about the compromise that actually I came up with Jim Melvin with the 5-1 campaign. And after we'd been wrangling and arguing about 2 months. So Jim Melvin, he presented that to the group, but the group said I had sold out. They were outraged. And so I told him, I said, look, you're fighting for the 631. Blacks only get 2 people out in the blue collar district. I said, if they don't have representation now, that's their fault. And believe it or not, there was progressive whites, there was blacks that were I was solely, unapologetically, black agenda. That's it. So I had to present this to the NAACP because NAACP made up about 40, had to vote on it. They'd already voted on it. Still, NAACP. So I went in there that night and they were playing, had people tag me about it. The vote ended up being something. That blacks to get two predominant districts, you have more power because there are fewer people overall. And why should we be looking at people class districts? So that's what civil rights is all about. But you understand how that works. You have some people that have social common things, and they feel that working class, white, all in this together. Well, that wasn't my take on it. Civil rights and race. But anyway, so it passed. So I had to make the presentation. About five of us designated to make the presentation at city council, and all of the task force members showed up. And I made the presentation. Jim Evans, and Pat. That's how we got the district system. So I was running around looking for someone to run the city council in '83, and Carolyn Cole came to me.
How old is now currently in county commission?
Carolyn Coleman is president of
Gilbert
county.
County.
She's president of Gilbert County commissioner. At that time, she was state field director at NAACP at the state office located in Greensboro. And I had traveled with her throughout the state when she was registering people to vote. It was trying to identify plaintiffs and file lawsuits of the cities under the Voting Rights Act to get a district system. So that's how I knew Carolyn worked together. So she can her city council. I said, I don't want to be no politician. I want to represent. And and so this lady named what's her name? Cynthia Jeter. And she overheard the conversation. And a day later, down in the city plaza, they had lunchtime Thursday, they had a band, all the people wrapped outside.
Yeah.
And she said, we were talking. Cynthia Jeter. Cynthia looked at me. I'm about to get her. I don't. You can't win anyway. You wouldn't win anyway. Would nobody vote for you anyway? I got right up. Thought about this now. And I should have walked right into the election before I got the paperwork and filled out back to the day. And then under the district system, first two African Americans elected in the district system. That's the ABC first time got elected president.
And this was in what year?
1983.
1983. And you were
Years I served longer than any other municipal elected official in for that record. That's probably
I mean, but it was a total of eight.
eight, right. I think the person that